Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to World at War Comics. My next special guest is Mr. David Howard. You might know him as NEM on social media, writer extraordinaire for ASAP, Imagination, novels, all kinds of great stuff, and a new comic coming out. But before we jump into that, David, how are you today, my friend?
I am doing very, very well. This is a long time coming. I am so glad to be on the show. I'm so glad to meet you. We have circled each other on social media for a while now, so it is really, really an honor to be here and be able to talk to you, especially since we live within what 30 miles of each other, 40 miles of each other. So
We're really close, man.
yeah, yeah.
I definitely need to get out there and get a coffee or a lunch or something with you so we can hang out, man. We have so much in common. It just doesn't make sense that we haven't done this yet, David. So that's going to happen, my friend. That is going to happen.
Definitely awesome. So very cool. Yeah, I would love to. I mean, I'd love to come out to Hemet. In fact,
Yeah.
I have been to Hemet a number of times, but that was back when I was much younger. But little quick story. I
Yeah.
was introduced to D&D in Hemet, so that was a
Oh,
long
wow.
story. But you know,
Well, we are very fortunate. Hemet's a pretty small town. I don't know, maybe mid-size, depending on where you're from, right? It's all relative. But there's about 70, 80,000 people in Hemet. And then we have San Jacinto, Val Vista. So altogether, maybe 200,000 people. But we have a comic book shop, Diggers Comics and Collectibles. So I'm really happy that we have a comic shop. I can't believe
that's
that
cool.
as many places out here that don't have a shop, we have one. And I feel very fortunate.
You
So
know, I'm trying to get more comic book signings in shops around here, so maybe I need to contact them and see about coming out there for a
I will
signing
hook you
too.
up,
So
man. Ambrose is the owner, great guy. So yeah, we need to make that happen for you, David.
cool. Definitely, definitely.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool.
Well, before we get into Blood World, which is your new title on FundmyComic, which we're definitely going to spend some time on, I thought, David, maybe we could kind of go back in time a little bit. I would love to know more about how you got into writing, where that passion for storytelling started in your life. I think that would be pretty fun to understand. And was there someone influential in your life that kind of led you on this path?
Oh yeah, I mean, well, it depends. Are we talking about comics or writing in general or both?
I
So
think both, yeah, because it maybe
okay,
one came before the other, right? But it led into it.
yeah. Well, writing was always a passion of mine, and it started with where it probably starts for most people, which is reading.
Yeah.
My parents got me into reading real early. I started reading, I think I was like 4 or 5, and then I read The Hobbit when I was like 7, and then it just went from there. And a big person besides my parents was my grandmother.
Mm.
My grandmother used to read to me all the time, and she would read me poetry and Shakespeare. I mean, I was a nerd. I was into Shakespeare as a young kid and
Right.
everything. But I remember this was the 70s, and the Hobbit cartoon came on. They made the Hobbit cartoon, that original, and man, that thing grabbed me. And my parents just latched onto that, and they bought me the Lord of the Rings books and the Token, and I got into Token, and that spawned a love of fantasy, which then spawned a love of science fiction. And I was like, this is amazing. And then I was like, I want to write,
Yeah.
and it's one of those things, every kid says they want to write or they want to do this or want to do that. My parents are like, that's good, and they encouraged me. And my mom made me fill out this thing every year. I don't know if your mom made you do this, but at the beginning of the school year, you put your picture in there and what do you want to be when you grow up? And it was always something different. My dad was a fireman, so fireman was usually in there, but writer was always in there. And so I wrote my first horror story when I was 9 years old. So, and got it published in my local school district and won an award for it and everything. And from then on, I was always writing. I was writing poetry. I was writing short stories. I was writing plays. And somewhere along the line, I got this idea that I had to get a real job, and then I went into the military and did other stuff. But meanwhile, behind the scenes, I was always writing, and I was always throwing it away because I was like, it's not good enough. My wife was always upset with me once I got married. So that was from the writing standpoint. And then eventually, decades later, I met these great people at Comic Crusaders, and they got a hold of some of my writing, and they were like, you know what, you really got to take the plunge and get out there and do this. And so I wrote my first novel, and then I started writing comics for ASAP Imagination, and to start writing my own comics as well. And that's where we're at now. So that brings us up to that for writing. Now for comics, my I was always, once again, child of the 70s. loved watching Spider-Man reruns from '66 and watched Justice League, not Justice League, Super Friends. Was big into Super Friends. Was watching all of that stuff, which was great. And I still remember my first comic. I was 8 years old. I was homesick, and my dad bought me a pirate ship model and a giant size Superman comic. It was Superman versus Flash, Race of the Century. Brought it home, and yeah, I was hooked.
That
I
was a
was
cool one
hooked
to
after
start
that
with.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah, and from that point on, I love all comics, but definitely was a DC fanboy from that point on. And in fact, the second comic I ever got, I don't know if you can see it, probably not, but there's a Superman comic over my
Yeah.
shoulder.
Yeah.
That is a copy of it. My dad, the army lost all my comics back in the '90s, but my mom, Jesus, I don't tell my wife I said it. My wife found this in a comic shop and
Yeah.
picked it up for me as a present.
Oh, how cool.
And yeah, so that's the second one I got. It's got Mr. Mitzelplick, and it's still got the you could create these like card stock version of the Fortress of Solitude and build it. It's still in there, and all that. It's just
That's
so
cool.
cool. So yeah, so that was that. And from there on, it was a love of comics, and then eventually, like many teenagers, I found Marvel, which, especially at that time was like all angsty and teenagey, so, and I was more into Marvel for a bit, and then I got back to DC, but eventually I found Hellblazer, and Hellboy and Spawn, and I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. Comics aren't just the capes and cowl crowd. We could do all this other stuff. And then I was like, oh yeah, this is for me too. So yeah, so
I love it, man. I love it. I mean, that's how it should be. That's how it
yeah.
should be. That's so cool, man. Well, David, now we're here today, man, and you have done quite a bit recently, right? So maybe kind of talk about ASAP a little bit. Both you and I have a somewhat of a relationship with ASAP. I do sell my comics through ASAP. Um, it's been an amazing group to work with, but you actually write for them,
Yeah,
and you write on their core projects,
yeah.
as opposed to the NE1 world, which I'm more related to with my line. But you're actually writing on their core line of ASAP. So can you kind of walk through some of the titles that you've been involved in?
Absolutely. So I do any one stroke stuff for them as well.
Oh, okay.
So
I'm sorry.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, my novel, The Long Game, which is a
Oh,
series, and I'm working on the next one right now. Slowly, but it's going along, is with Any One World. But yeah, I do write for the main continuity on the OPSEC. I write the OPSEC series.
yeah.
And it's interesting is that when this was getting off the ground, Paul and Lori had written Points of Villainy and Points of Virtue and as prose. And then Paul had written Messiah. And they were looking for somebody who could help them write villains and evil organizations and stuff like that. And they kind of knew a little bit about what I could do and what the ideas I had. And I had been in the military, like I said. I went to West Point. I've been in government, so I'm familiar with that whole thing. So I was like, yeah, okay. And I started coming up with these ideas for government organizations, and some of it is good people, some of it is bad people and stuff like that. And then Paul said, I came up with a bunch of ideas that, I can't NEM. That's the term, my name has actually become a verb because I used to give away stuff all the time. They're like, you NEM and stuff. So, yeah, I can't NEM it, but, I came up with a lot of stuff, and which is still there. And there are plans to use it in the future. But one of the ideas I had, Paul was looking at and said, this would be a great comic series. He said, do you want to turn it into a comic series? I said, yeah, So it's called OPSEC. OPSEC generally in the real world means operational security. And so, but in this terms, it's a government organization, is a term that is in charge of operations and security for a larger organization, but they monitor paranormal threats, superhero threats, superpower threats, magic, everything in this universe. And they're in charge of keeping it in control and eliminating those threats when it needs be. So the best way I can describe it for most people is it's the Bureau of Paranormal Research and Defense, which is Hellboy, meets the X-Files,
That's awesome.
And yeah. And so the main group on that comic is there are two agents, and they're really kind of the straight men of the series. You've got Indra Jafari, who is the leader of the group, and she's a no-nonsense, tactical-minded type agent. And then her right-hand man is Nigel Hammersmith, who is an ex-ASAS agent, big hulking dude, weapons expert and everything. And for whatever reasons, and I can't give that away, they are paired up with two powered individuals. And one of them is named Barbara King, and she's off a rocker. She's cracked. She's completely nuts. And her best friend is a demonically possessed dog named God, why am I blanking on the name? Anyway, it will come to me, but it's a demonically possessed doll. So yeah, so this doll, and the doll is sarcastic and snarky. Maisie, that's her name. God. Yeah. And Maisie is just absolutely nuts. And she and Barbara are kind of the psychotic comic relief on the show. And people have grown to love Maisie. Maisie is one of their favorite characters. And not only that, she'll break the fourth wall. She breaks through, during fights, she gets thrown through, the panels of the comic and lands in other panels. I mean, she's just, the thing that really drives the comic, and she is a lot of fun to write. And so we're writing that. Issue 3 is out now. Issue 4 is done. We're just waiting for a few things before they start getting it drawn, and it'll be out. I hope it'll be out this year. It's just a matter of time and timing and how they want to release everything. So, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And then that first arc will be done, and then we'll see where we go from there. So I really enjoy writing that comic. But that's how I got involved with ASAP, is just knowing a friend of a friend and being introduced, and then it's like, what can you do? And I started writing this stuff, and I wrote a bunch of short stories for them that kind of talked about these organizations behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. And they loved them, and we went from there. Now, I will say those short stories were much, much darker than the comics. So when I tend to write in prose, the horror writer in me really comes out, and it can be pretty scary. So
that's fun, man. I love it.
Yeah. So, and those are my favorite genres to write, is horror and science fiction. So I love both of those. So that's always been a big fan of that. I like fantasy too, but fantasy is more of a hobby. So
yeah. Well, I love it, man. And you could go to asapimagination.com to pick up OPSEC and all the other titles that are under ASAP. And you could go to any one world and pick up your novel. And there's over 100 other creators from all over the world that have their titles up on any one world, which is awesome. You could purchase them digitally, and in some cases you could get physical copies as well.
And it just keeps growing, it just keeps growing. And I don't know if I need to wait for an announcement. I'll just hint that there may be a relationship between the Blood World comic and any one world as well. So
nice. Very good.
So
I'll leave it at that, David.
Yeah, we'll just leave it at that. I'm not NEMing anything.
Yeah. Don't NEM it away yet, man. Don't NEM it away yet. Well, I mean, Paul, or Hades, has how a lot of us know him, man. He is an awesome guy, and what they have produced in the UK with Laurie's support and everybody else, man, has been awesome. They've got to be one of the fastest growing publishers out of the UK, and they're making a huge presence here in North America. So if you haven't heard of them, you should. And they're really easy to find, and they have some amazing titles.
Yeah, go check that out. And then if you search for the D.W. Howard collection, you'll see all the stuff that I do for them there as well. So yeah, soon to be growing. So
soon to be growing. But you've done a lot, man. You've done a lot already.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is once you do some, you want to do more. So you just want to keep doing it. It's just, it's that thing with indie comics, is the thing that really holds you back is, and I don't want to be crass about it, but it's money. It's like, it's just, it takes money to do comics, and it takes a lot of time to do novels. So it's like one or the other, not that it doesn't take time to do comics as well, but it doesn't take as much time as a novel. So,
Well, speaking of that, why don't we jump right into your campaign for Blood World, and let's check that out. Is that cool?
That's awesome. Yeah, let's definitely
Right.
do it.
I'm gonna pull it up. That way we could just walk through it.
Okay, sounds good.
Here we go. All right, my friend, here it is. So your comic is on fundmycomic.com. I'll make sure I put the link below to make it very easy for everybody to get over to. But here it is. Why don't you walk us through that? And then if you have the date of when this goes live, we could put that below too. That way people can make sure that they come back and back you.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we're going live on June 10th, and we're going to run for 30 days through July 10th.
Perfect.
So and so like it shows up there, this is for Blood World, which is the setting for the
Mhm.
comic, and then the actual comic name is Phoenix Throne #1. So that's, it might be a little confusing, but just so everybody knows, Blood World is a setting that I came up with. And a lot of people have seen this setting. Well, not a lot, but about six. And I'm really interested in writing stories. So we got a lot of people who are interested in doing stories in this. And this was something I started writing maybe 8, 9 years ago. And I've written 600 pages of history for Blood World all the way through the current year of the setting, which is 2587. And so there's a lot of background behind it. And then we're picking up right from that year and then telling the stories that go with it. So this is the first story called Phoenix Throne that we're doing. So
Amazing, man. Well, that's quite a lot of background for this story. So I guess the idea, right, is this is going to become something quite large over time with all kinds of different branches breaking off of it. Is that kind of the idea, David?
that is definitely the plan. It's really what this setting is about, is what is the future of humanity in this year, you know, and the history and all the other stuff I wrote is how we got from current year. So when I started writing, it was 2017 all the way up through 2587. So all of the events that I saw, alternative history happening to get us to this point. And so there are three main factions of humanity. There are the humans that want to integrate humanity with technology. There's a human faction that wants to improve humanity through genetic engineering. And then the people who are left on Earth, if you've ever seen the movie Idiocracy, it's pretty much like that. Most of the people left on Earth are living in the once great remains of the Terran Federation and have no idea how to repair anything. And so they're just living in a crumbling society. Meanwhile, the humans that didn't live in the cities have all mutated and become mutants, and they rule the Earth. So are they the future of humanity? The mutated humans, are they the future of humanity? And so that is really what Blood World is examining, at least right now. You know, where we go from there many years from now, we'll see. But that's what these stories are. And so Phoenix Throne is talking about one of these factions, the ones that is about transhumanism. And they are on the moon Ganymede around Jupiter, the planet Jupiter. And they ended up creating a monarchy that the monarch sits on the Phoenix Throne. So Queen Elizabeth Arnif sits on the Phoenix Throne, and this is about the beginnings of a revolution or our rebellion against the Queen, and who is behind that, and what is going to happen with the Phoenix Throne, because the Ganymede monarchy is definitely the most violent. It's arguably the most powerful militarily in the solar system. And so what happens to them is going to have ramifications for all of the other stories. So that's why I chose to tell this story first. Because actually the first story I wrote has to do with the genetic engineering, and it was about an assassin there and his story. And they have these assassins called blood wraiths who are able to real time change their DNA to grow weapons or armor or technology out of their bodies. However, every time they do this, it has a chance to cause their DNA to break down. And if it goes wrong, it goes really wrong. So
I don't know. I'm not sure you're surviving through that, right?
yeah, no, usually don't. In fact, I will give this away. That comic is written, the first comic in that series is written, and I'm talking to an artist about it getting drawn. And there is a panel in there where one guy literally turns into goo about 20,000 feet above the planet and just burns in as goo. So, you know.
If that's not the best selling point to get involved in it, I don't know what is. That sounds awesome to me.
Yeah. So yeah, he's trying to grow wings to glide in and just melts. So
Just
yeah.
melts. I love it, man. Well, I think this portion right here kind of talks about everything that you just mentioned, right?
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
this is, giving you a brief overview of the setting and then what this is about and the three main players, at least in this first comic. So we have three main characters that will be, front and center in this first mini series and definitely in this first comic. I'll also say that if you look over to the right, we are doing an early adopter on our campaign. So if you order within the first week of the campaign, digital or physical, there is a discount. So 40% discount on digital and 20% discount on physical for the first week of the campaign. So
Such a good idea.
yeah.
Good idea. That's awesome, man.
So, but
this is cover A or the cover for
yeah,
the
that
which
that is
I
our
got a
main cover.
sneak peek in our little chat on X, and it looked awesome, man. I think everyone was really excited when they saw this.
Yeah, we have 4 covers.
Okay.
We have this main cover done by Jeff Bracey. We also have a black and white of this cover. Now, I don't want to prejudice anyone, but as much as I love the color, I think the black and white looks even better. And I think there's a black and white version of it down below.
Okay, let's take it here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let's get over to it. There it is.
Yeah.
I get the grayscale is just awesome, man.
Yeah. So as much as I love the color, I think the black and white is pretty awesome. So, so yeah, so we got those 2 covers. We have an alternate cover that we haven't revealed yet. That's one of our stretch goals. So we've got 2 alternate covers. One done by Brian Wilson.
Okay.
And then we also have an alternate cover drawn by Luke Stone, who is also the author and artist on Hybrids, and he's the owner of FundmyComic. And that's another one of our stretch goals. So we've got 2 of those. I will say that the Brian Wilson alternate cover really is a Blood World setting cover. So it really gives you an idea about Blood World as a general rule. So like everything that's going on in Blood World, it's a really cool cover. In fact, you know what? I'll give you a sneak peek real quick here, everybody.
Let me stop share real quick so we can see it. I'll make it big. Yeah.
Let's see. Can you see that right there? That's up on the wall.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that looks awesome.
Yeah, so that is a sneak peek of the Brian Wilson cover. And then we have the Luke Stone cover, which features a much larger version of Queen Elizabeth on it.
Okay.
Pretty cool. So, and those will be stretch goals that we'll reveal. I will say we're also, next week, I'm going to add some more stuff to, as far as merch. We've got some t-shirt offerings, stickers, coffee mugs, and I think that's all we've got planned right off the bat. We've got some things we're going to do as stretch goals. So, I mean, we could talk about that when we get down, but I've been finalizing up some stickers and t-shirts and stuff that I'm going to add before we go live on June 10th. So
awesome. I love it. I love it. All right.
And then
go ahead, please.
No. So yeah, you're getting to these characters. So the first and central character here, because she's the queen sitting on the Phoenix throne, is this Queen Elizabeth Arnef. And this is her full title and name. So that is a mouthful right there. So, the cool part about all that is all of those mean something. And eventually over time, you will come to understand why all of those titles are on there and what they mean. I think the biggest one that I like to tell people about is, you'll see she's called the prophetess of technology. These people are all, besides being transhumanists and having this monarchy, are devoted to technology as a religion, because they were religious rebels on Earth, and eventually they fled Earth and then were tried while in space and left to die in space. And their forefathers, their ancestors crashed on Ganymede, and they built this planet up from nothing, or this moon up from nothing. And so this whole religion around technology has arisen, and there's the Ecclesiastes technology there. And it's really, if you've ever been familiar with 40K, it's very similar to that. And so it's almost like a machine cult that is out there. And the Ecclesiastes Adeptus is in 40K, and then you've got the Ecclesiastes here. And so that is a whole nother political thing that the queen has to deal with. And only the queen and the Ecclesiastes, the church, is allowed to manufacture new technology. And so this is going to be a big thing, because in a society where technology is paramount, to be the prophetess technology is very powerful. In fact, there's one scene in the comic where she's walking down a hallway, and her mere presence, her technology, forces everyone else to kneel because of the implants within them. Oh, wow. So, you know, and that's just the beginning of it. So their whole society, like I said, is about integrating humans and technology. So what does that mean? You know, and we're going to talk about that. So, but there's a lot of stuff in there, and it was a lot of fun coming up with all of her names, you know, so it was really cool.
I love it. I love it. All right, let's move on to Duke here.
So this is Duke Evgeny. So some people, you know, this guy is actually named after a real guy I knew, my Russian instructor in college. So, and he is the primary advisor and uncle of the Queen. He is called the Dragon of Ganymede 12, and you will find out why he's called that. He's a rough and tumble guy, you know, and you're going to find out some stuff about him. I don't want to name it, like I said, but it is very interesting. The only thing I will give away is that the Duke and the next guy we're going to talk about do not like each other at all. So
yeah. Well, let's talk about this next guy, Baron.
Yeah, so you can see he is on the cover. Yep. A lot of the first issue revolves around what's going on with this guy, Baron Dominic Chabot. He is the Queen's cousin. The Duke is he is the nephew of the Duke up there. He is the most eligible bachelor in the Ganymede monarchy. He's probably one of the most bloodthirsty people in the Ganymede monarchy. He is probably the Tony Stark type playboy of the Ganymede monarchy. So, and all of those things come into the forefront in this comic. And I guess that's one of the things that I did another interview, and people were asking me, who is this aimed for? You know, I would say, not that I want to, you know, turn off provincial buyers, but this is definitely a mature comic that I wouldn't be comfortable giving it to one of my children if they were under 13, you know, 14. There's graphic violence in it, politics, backbiting, lies, stealing, and some adult situations. Now, I told my artist, I was like, I don't want any nudity. I don't want any graphic erotica or anything like that. But at the same time, these are grown people and sexual alliances and stuff like that. I want people to be able to understand what's going on here, you know? So
I thought it was very tasteful in issue 1. Just
thank you.
It was very tasteful. Yeah, yeah. It wasn't over the top at all. Right?
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Yeah, and it was like, and so that was a big thing that I stressed, and I thought that our artist Tosa did a great job, because I was like, look, it's like, I don't want this to be one of those things where I need to, you know, turn off the lights when I'm reading the comic, you know, but you know, so I wanted Game of Thrones, that type of feel to it, but I didn't want what Game of Thrones did, which was, we're not hiding anything, we're showing everything, you know, so you know, so and I think we accomplished that, you know, and that's another way I describe this comic. Someone is like, if like you gave me two current things, what is this comic like? And I'd say, well, if you took Game of Thrones and Dune and you mashed it together, that's kind of what we got going on here. We got some other stuff going on, but that's really, you know, the far future and the house aspect of Dune, but you got some Game of Thrones stuff going on as well. And I think that would give you a good idea of what we're doing with this comic in this series. So
I think those are a couple really good properties to be related to from a storytelling standpoint. I think they've done okay.
Absolutely. I used to tell my wife all the time before, you know, I started writing for the public, that if I could ever write something half as good as Dune,
Yeah.
I could die happy. You
Yeah.
know, like create a world half as good as Dune, I would be a happy man. So,
Yeah, yeah. Well, it sounds like you have a pretty amazing world started, and this first entrance with this issue 1 of Phoenix Throne, I think is going to be a lot of fun, and I cannot wait to hear about all the other titles that will be related to Blood World. I think it's gonna be pretty good, David. I think it
awesome. Thank
sounds
you. Thank
awesome.
you.
That's for sure. All right,
Awesome. Thank you.
let's get down to here. So these are little snippets of the inside artwork to give you kind of a flavor of what you're going to get when you get the issue, which I thought came out spectacular, man. It was beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. It's always hard to know what to put up there because you don't want to give too much of the story away. But I know that, and I agree with people who want to see that finished pages. They want to have a good idea of what they're buying. And so I definitely agree with that. And I will say for everybody out there, the book is completely done. So like you were saying, you've seen the book.
Mhm.
So, once the campaign is done, we're ready to go and get them printed or to send out digital right away. So that is one thing you don't have to worry about. If you are buying from our campaign, we are finished. So I bit the bullet and I paid for the book up front because I wanted to make sure that we had it done and people could see a finished product and that we're ready to go. So
No, I love it. I love it.
yeah.
Looks
Now this is some fun stuff that we did. Like I said, I grew up in the 70s, 80s. I love those old comics and all those old ads that you
yeah.
would have. And so we have some fake ads and stuff inside the book and some real ads. And those all tie into the setting itself, the larger Blood World setting. And then on the back of the book, the back cover is this Space Monkeys. And this is like the old Sea Monkeys ads, except this is from the S3, which is that group I was telling you about that does genetic engineering. And they're selling space monkeys to their kids. So you could grow your space monkeys and arm them and then have your space monkeys fight the neighbor kids' space monkeys and stuff. And there's all this, I wrote this whole ad campaign, in the style of those fake ads. It's like, hey, kids, do you want to see your friends' space monkeys blow up in a whole, giant vortex? Get your space monkeys, and, all that old stuff that was so good.
I love it.
Uh, yeah. And for all of you who don't know, go check out some of those old 80s comics where Batman is like throwing a Hostess fruit pie to the Joker to like capture him and stuff. It's great.
It
Great
was
stuff.
great. I love seeing these old ads in comics, man. There's a few folks that do it, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. So, and then this was every Blood World comic is going to have some sort of tech spec in it. And eventually, when we have enough of them, we'll put them together and sell them as a standalone comic or a book, depending on how many we have. Because I don't know about you, but I'm one of those nerds. Star Wars came out, Star Trek came out. I had to buy the tech manual, and read all that stuff. And so this is the first one. This was drawn by David Jackson, another artist I know. And this is a blueprint drawing for the Behemoth armor, the Mark 16 Behemoth armor, which is the armor used by the nobles. So, and you'll see in the first comic that you've got the peasants with their armor, and then you've got the nobles with their armor way up here, and it's not even a fair fight, So,
I love it. I
yeah.
love it, man. That's awesome, man. What a great addition too.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to come up with the specs for it and then gave this to David. So it's like I said, this is one of the things that I did is like I've got my own horrible drawings of, all the different technology and how it works. And I gave this to David and he came up with this and I think it came out really, really well. So I love
Really
it.
excellent. Yeah, for sure. And
Yeah,
let's talk about this team that you've been working with because they put a lot of work into it and they're killing it, man.
absolutely. So that first guy up there, he doesn't do a whole lot of work, so yeah. So I'm the writer. I did the video that's at the top of the page. You can go check that out. It's on my YouTube as well. I did do the graphic layout and stuff like that because even though I'm not an artist, I can do Photoshop and DaVinci Resolve and that kind of stuff. So I took care of that stuff. The main artist on the book is pencils, inks, and I got to update it. He did the color as well. I made a mistake there. I don't know why I did that. is Tosin Awosika. And he is out in Nigeria. Very, very talented artist. Really great guy. I should probably put their social media on here. But he is done a number of comics. He does his own comics as well. If you're looking for somebody, and don't steal him out from under me when I want him to work on stuff, but yeah, go check him out. So really, really good.
Yeah.
Jeff is my partner in Raincross Press, which is our own little publishing company where we're doing Blood World through. And he is my main graphic designer. So he did the graphic designs on everything before it ever got to an artist. He also did the cover for this. He's also the one drawing and writing the Fellhand comic, which will be the next one that comes out after Blood World does. So it'll be the next new series to start, or at least that's the plan right now. So, and Fellhand is about the mutants on Earth. So, Guido Martinez out of Argentina did the letters for us. Once again, another really, really talented guy. I just backed one of his campaigns because he did a comic as well. So besides doing letters, he does comics. Very, very good at what he does. Brian Wilson did our first cover. He did a cover for us a long time ago, and it's that first alternate cover. Okay. And he is a very talented artist. Unfortunately, Brian had some real life, crop up, and he had to step back for a little while. But I'm hoping that he'll get back into comics again eventually. But very, very talented guy and just unbelievable art. He did some other art for us as well that I can't wait to show off in the future someday. So we've got a lot of stuff lined up that can't even see the light of day yet because we're not there yet. So I'm really looking forward to that. Mateo did the Space Monkeys ad for us, and he's also the artist I work with on OPSEC.
Oh, okay. Which is awesome art too. Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah. So he is the artist on OPSEC. David Jackson is the artist who did the technical drawing there. And then my daughter, Caitlin, did some of the ads on the interior of the comic for us as well.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah. So
family affair there, get the family involved. Love it.
She is graduating from college with a degree in art next week. So
congrats, man. That's huge.
Thank you. So
yeah. Hopefully you get some really good discounts on art with comics moving forward.
Yeah. I make her work for room and board. So
there you go. That's fair. Fair enough. I love it, man. So here's those two covers that you were talking about, cover A and then the black and white grayscale, which I agree with you, man. That grayscale looks incredible.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. And it's not to take away from the color, I think the color is fantastic on it, but the grayscale is just
incredible.
Yeah, really, really good.
All right, let's get into so you have some stretch goals here. I know you said you were going to add a few more things, but you were talking about those two covers that will be coming as stretch goals as well, right?
Correct. So when we get to 25 backers, we'll reveal and make available for purchase that first cover for Brian. And then when we're 100% funded, we're going to make the Luke Stone cover available for purchase and reveal. We're going to do some special sticker packages at 1,000 and 2,000. So we're going to do some regular stickers, but if we reach, and from my lips to God's ears or whoever you want to be ears, we reach those sticker pack A and B, we're going to do some special stuff. So we're going to do a few different sticker packs and throw in the stickers that we're going to make available for purchase as well. So you would get another sticker and stuff like that. So we're going to do some stuff like that. At 4,000, we're going to give everybody who gets a purchase a physical print of the black and white cover. To send out to everybody. And then if we reach $10,000, this is something that I want to do in the future anyway. But if we reach $10,000, that means we could do it now. We're going to print off 3 custom collectible figures. So, and they'll be scaled figures that will be part of a larger tactical war game that you can play as part of Blood World. So the figures would be the Queen, the Duke, and the Baron. And you have those and they'll be collectible just like a 40K game. You could paint them or leave them, as they are. And then what we will do is that we'll also create other figures from there and we will go ahead and work on and publish a tactical game that you could play much like 40K, but it's set in the Blood World universe. So you'll have, vehicles and everything else you could buy, and you can recreate these battles at home, and play as a game. So
I love it. David, that sounds awesome, man. Well, I'll make sure that this link is placed in the subject of the YouTube video. Obviously, we want to blast this everywhere, get people excited. But congratulations, man. Issue 1 looks like it's going to be a banger. So congrats on that, man. And I can't wait to see this world expand and grow and all that good stuff.
thank you so much, man. Yeah, I am really excited about this. I want people to get out there and get into it and just read it and dig into it. A couple people have read it and said, man, I had to take my time reading this because there's so much going on, and that made me so happy because I was like, yeah, there's a lot going on, and I think we leave you on a cliffhanger that makes you go, damn it, now I want the second issue. So so
Well, it's awesome, man. It sounds like over the last, 5 to 7 years, you have put a lot of blood, sweat, and I'm sure some tears into the storyline. So we cannot wait to see it come out with art to kind of back up that story. It's going to be awesome.
thank you so much. Yeah, and I got to thank all the people who've been there behind the scenes to help me out. I got to thank my wife, and I got to thank people like you and all the other podcasters who are giving me this opportunity to come on and talk to everybody out there about this thing that we've done. Because without this opportunity, we can't get the word out. So thank you as well.
Oh,
So
100%. I mean, this channel is for that reason. So I'm really happy for you, David. Really want to see you succeed. Love to see you hit that 10,000 mark so we could get some action figures as well, which would be really cool, man. It'd be
yeah,
fun. And then we can meet up somewhere and we could play the game eventually together once all these pieces start to come out. That'd be awesome.
yeah, that would be really, really cool, and that is one of the things that I think would be amazing because, to be able to do that and play that tactical game like that with the figures and stuff, oof, that would be awesome. So it's going to happen, we'll see when it happens, but if it happens sooner, hey, so much better. So
Yeah. Well, David, can you kind of tell fans or folks that are listening that are about to be fans when they get this book in their hands how to follow you on social media?
absolutely. So the best places to go on all social media, well, not all, but on X, Facebook, and Instagram, I am Nemesis FC2 on all of those. It's just the same. It's not that interesting why my name is that. It's an old soccer team I used to play in, but there it is. You can also go to dwhoward.com and you can see more information about Blood World. We also have a sign up there form to get on our mailing list. And on that mailing list, I send out special offers. I do send out sneak peek chapters on the stuff I'm writing and stuff like that. Sometimes I give people sneak peek into new art and stuff like that. So we can send that stuff out. So go sign up on dwhoward.com. And then raincrosspress.com is down at the moment, but we're revamping that. So look for that to be relaunched in the next month or so. But with everything that's going on, I wanted to do that before the campaign, but it's like there's so much stuff happening that I wasn't able to get that up. But we will be relaunching Raincross Press as well. So,
And is Raincross Press something that you could follow on social media yet, or is that not done
yeah,
yet?
you can follow Raincross Press. It's at Raincross Press. Very simple. We're only on Twitter right now. So,
Okay, beautiful. It's awesome.
so, and yeah, those are the main places that you can find us. So.
What are we leaving out, David? Anything else that you want to kind of share with people?
Yeah, just definitely go out there, go check it out. And I'll say this, I want you to back our book, but if you don't back our book, go back somebody else who's an indie creator. Go to Any One World and look for that. And I don't have anything against the big guys, but indie is where it's at. All of the new stuff and the spirit is really at indie. So go check it out. Go to Any One World. Go to ASAP Imagination. Hey, go check out OPSEC. If you're looking for something different. So go check that out. Or if you're into a horror novel, you want to pick up a horror novel, I've got the long game over there at Any One World as well. So go check that out. So please.
I love it, David. Well, David, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you spending some time with me today. Congratulations. It looks amazing. And you and I definitely are going to have to meet up for lunch or
Definitely.
something, man, or hit a comic store together. We got to figure this out, man. But yeah, you and I, it's a shame that we haven't got together being so close.
Absolutely.
We're,
Absolutely.
we're
Hey,
related with Comic Crusaders. We're related with ASAP, Any One World. It makes no sense, right?
yeah, maybe we'll, after we're off there, maybe we'll talk about me coming out there to the comic store out there by you. So
That'd be
definitely.
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, David,
Awesome.
thank you so much. I'll make sure that I put everything down below. People that are watching this, get ready. June 10th, go live, fund my comic. Make sure that you're backing Blood World. This is going to be amazing. Phoenix Throne is the first episode of this amazing storyline, and you definitely want to jump on this. David, thank you for joining me today. Really appreciate you, and I hope you have an amazing weekend.
Thank you so much. And thank you for having me.
Absolutely, my friend. Talk soon.
See you later. Bye.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.